What's going on, everybody? Okay, so I'm going to do an astrology update for the week of July 7th. It is Monday, July 8th, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the energy that we've been going through with this last eclipse that we had in the sign of Cancer, a total solar eclipse slash new moon in the sign of Cancer, and then we are getting ready to have the next eclipse, which is in the sign of Capricorn. So those two polarities is really being highlighted at this time, the Cancer-Capricorn polarity. The next eclipse will be a full moon slash lunar eclipse in the sign of Capricorn on July 16th. So what is going on in the world right now? I feel like this last eclipse was super intense for a lot of us. I'm sure it showed up in different ways for people depending on where that eclipse was happening in your chart, how it was activating your personal birth chart. So that is, we all have our own birth chart that we were born with, which is a snapshot of the sky at the time you were born. And then based on where Cancer was, in Capricorn for this specific example, based on where that was in your chart at the time of your birth, that's going to give you greater insight as to what area of your life it's affecting based on what house, Cancer falls in. So we're all probably feeling this energy, the Cancer-Capricorn polarity. It's Cancer season. Cancer is the most probably emotional sign, like deeply feeling and sensitive to the energy around you, the most emotional of the zodiac within, the whole zodiac wheel. Because Cancer rules your personal experiences, like your personal emotions, your personal life experiences, and your ability to digest and to process those experiences, which then, kind of sets the tone for how you're able to come out into the world and to express yourself and to come out of the Cancer crab shell. So we're all feeling that energy to a certain degree, based on maybe how sensitive you are to the collective energy and yeah, how sensitive you're not. But based on where Cancer is falling in your chart, that will give you greater insight as to what area of your life it's affecting. So if it's falling in your 7th house of relationship and partnership, then that area of your life is being highlighted at this time. So, okay, so collectively, for all of us, I feel like this last eclipse, eclipses just in general bring like faded karmic experiences. So this last eclipse felt like there was a lot of clearing out, like maybe you're getting rid of you ended a certain relationship, or you decided to move into a new place of living, or or your job changed or shifted in some way, people coming and leaving, just kind of faded, sudden situations, experiences that can happen, really quickly, and that have generally been building for a period of time. So with this past eclipse that we had in the sign of Cancer, I feel like there was a lot coming up around your home and your family, and what it takes for you to feel emotionally supported and nurtured. And we're really trying to move in that direction. So we're trying to see our past situations more clearly so that we're not ruled by them, so our unconscious isn't taking over. And due to these past experiences that we've had, these past like wounds and pain and trauma that we experienced generally from a young age, like sometime within our childhood, as Cancer rules our childhood and the past, and even going back to past lives, like our ancestral roots, just the karma that you're working through and that you're clearing within your family line. So a lot could have been coming up around that time, like really reevaluating what it needs to look like for you to feel nurtured, to feel supported, to feel taken care of. In one aspect, like really being able to do that for yourself, to cultivate that inner strength and stability, to sift through our emotional body, not necessarily needing to like analyze it or logically understand it, or like, okay, it was this event, this is how I can clear it. Like, it's not so much having like a structured approach to these things that have happened, but just allowing ourselves to be in that feeling. If like a past memory or something comes up, maybe through your dreams, or just like a flash of information or a download that's taking you back to the past, that's taking you to, back to a past experience, or maybe you're like triggered in some way, as there's a lot of aspects that could be, causing us to feel triggered or really reactive. With this energy that's now moved into Leo, we've got Mercury and Mars that are in the sign of Leo. Mercury's, going to retrograde back, but we could still just like the Cancer energy get triggered, feel hurt in some way, something touching a deeper part of us, and then us wanting to like just react and respond with that fiery, like impulsive, reactive Leo energy. So really being able to pause and to reflect and to withdraw, as long as needed, I feel, to withdraw from external situations or people or going places or just whatever you feel you need to do to kind of, like come back home into yourself, to withdraw for a period of time so that you can more fully, go outward. So, around that eclipse, it could have brought some big changes, some big shifts in your life. I think it's ultimately helping us to understand our wounds from a new perspective, from, a deeper understanding of these situations that have happened in the past and how they have, hardened us to a certain degree. We're all affected by stuff that we've been throughout our lives. So it's just, what does it look like, our ability to digest those experiences, to respond to, what's happening in the here and now, like being in this present moment and not responding from a place of being wounded or hurt in the past and now projecting that onto your current experience. So based on our ability to digest life, to digest these experiences that we've been through, then we can, more fully heal those parts of ourselves that have gone like unattended to, and just can cause us to shut down, or to put up walls, or to not be able to fully connect with another person, or to fully go out into the world, or to share your gifts, or whatever it looks like for you, because we feel like it's not a safe place to be, because we don't feel safe internally, which is the Cancer energy. It's building up that inner stability, the inner security within yourselves, really nurturing and tending to your emotional body so that you do feel safe, you do feel comfortable to go out into the world and to hit the other end of that Cancer Capricorn polarity, which is, the Capricorn energy, which is about work, it's about being of service, it's about producing, it's about going out into the world and accomplishing things and getting things done. The Capricorn energy is not about your emotions so much, that's the Cancer. So it's water and earth. Which are, the two elements that go together. They balance each other out. So we need both. We need the Cancer energy, we need the Capricorn energy. So the second eclipse that we're coming up on, this full moon and lunar eclipse in the sign of Capricorn, I feel it's going to really help us to, like, a lot of stuff came up around this last eclipse, a lot of emotions and just kind of reworking things, like, okay, what situations do I need in my life, what do I need to like help me feel good and to nurture, to feel nurtured and taken care of, and how can I give that to myself as well. And now with this second eclipse, I feel like it's going to be more about really solidifying within that, like within the stuff that came up around the first eclipse, really like clearing those things out, the things that need to go, that maybe feel a little bit off. Like it's kind of like the finalizing of what happened in the first eclipse, like really I don't want to say like cleaning up the mess, but Saturn and, this eclipse is conjunct the planet Saturn, which is like the fatherly figure of the zodiac. Saturn and Pluto, which are probably the two most benefic, or not benefic, the two most malefic planets, meaning that they're not the lightest, happiest energy in the world. They're more about transformation and causing you to, inviting you to make the changes needed in order to kind of set yourself up on, like, to build a solid foundation for yourself, and to clear out, to allow there to be, a death and a clearing, a purging of the old things, old people, situations, emotional responses, ways of showing up, to allow those things to be cleared out. So I think with this eclipse in Capricorn that is coming, I think it's a lot about like emotional maturity and moving from a place of not being the victim kind of taking responsibility and power over our own lives, really claiming that, like reclaiming that, the parts of ourselves that have maybe been like lost or shut down or left wounded in the past due to these past experiences, really reclaiming, you know, those parts of ourselves and becoming like a whole sovereign being that can go out into the world and isn't hindered by these past traumatic, you know, painful experiences. So yeah, I think that's really reinforced with Chiron going retrograde. Then we will also have Mercury retrograde. We've got Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter retrograde. Then we're going to have Uranus go retrograde. So there's going to be about 6 planets retrograde at that time of the eclipse and towards the end of July. So with Chiron going retrograde, I just want to mention that Chiron is, I feel, misunderstood a lot. The Chiron energy, Chiron is an asteroid, and it represents a wound that we have. It represents a primal wound, but Chiron is also our ability to heal ourselves, to empower ourselves, to understand the wound from a deeper place, and to empower ourselves to heal it, while simultaneously inspiring and empowering other people to do that, you know, their own healing work, to go on their own healing journey. So moving from a place of feeling kind of beaten down and like the victim and like, oh, this is a primal wound I was born with, I can't get rid of this, or I keep, you know, reliving the same patterns or repeating the same cycles, like replaying that wound until we can, you know, take a step back and understand it from a higher place, a higher perspective, and like, oh, okay, this is why, you know, I've kept reliving this experience in many different shapes and forms, different people, different places, but the same lesson keeps repeating. This is what it's trying to teach me. This is what I need to learn through these experiences that I have. Like, okay, I understand it. I can choose to show up in that way so that I don't have to keep repeating the same toxic cycles. So yeah, so I think, yeah, and just in general, all these retrograde planets, I feel are misunderstood or like unjustly demonized. That Mercury retrograde and all these, you know, retrograde planets, it's not an awful time. It's not like, oh, don't do anything, don't, you know, make any decisions or any commitments or travel or sign anything. Like, Mercury is retrograde for about 4 months, roughly, a little bit less, throughout the whole year. So you just don't do anything for 4 months. Like, okay, if you have that luxury, that's wonderful. But most of the world probably does not. So, and it's just, yeah, it's just a time to really to pause and to reflect and to re-examine things, to not just, because we can feel pressured during that time, like we need to, you know, make a decision, or we need to move quickly, or we need to, like, you know, that energy can feel, because it's closer to the earth, so it can feel more strong, you know, and people born with retrograde planets live with that energy. If you're born with Mercury retrograde or any planets retrograde, it's going to feel more comfortable when those planets go retrograde in the sky. So that's just something to look out for. Maybe you're born with Mercury retrograde and you really love that, you know, that time, because you can think more clearly. But yeah, the planet will be closer, so it's going to, you know, have a stronger effect on us. So just really allowing ourselves to pause and to reflect before we take action, before we just like jump into things and are reactive, just allowing us to kind of to revisit what's coming up and like, okay, am I responding to what's happening right now? Can I think through this a little bit more? You know, just, yeah, pausing before we just respond. So yeah. Yeah, so I feel like it's been a lot of things that we've been working through collectively and in different ways. You know, it's showing up for people differently in their personal life. I feel like on the global scale that a lot of shit is being brought to the surface, you know, and it's definitely going to continue until January of 2020, but for this specific eclipse, then maybe there will be stuff that happens right around that eclipse, because this eclipse, I mean, is conjunct the South Node, which represents the past. It represents, you know, our collective past in this, you know, within this reality, and also past lives, past experiences, just, yeah, the stuff that we've been working through in the past. And this eclipse is conjunct Saturn. It's like the boundaries, the structure, the foundation of not only our lives personally, like on an individual level, but collectively, like the structure of society. So, and then Pluto, the planet of death and transformation and rebirth, is not far from this. In this energy, Pluto and Saturn are dancing together this whole year. It's just building up to the conjunction that's going to happen in January of 2020 when Pluto and Saturn are exactly conjunct. And I'm feeling like at that time, obviously something big is going to happen, whether it's the collapse of our, like, some type of societal structures in some way. I don't know exactly what it'll look like, but yeah, shit could hit the fan a little bit, but I think in a way that is needed. We know that the structures in society, that a lot of things are broken, a lot of things need the, like, death, the deep purging process, and need to be reconstructed. They need to be reborn. They need to go through, the Pluto energy is connected to Scorpio. It's the planet that rules Scorpio, which represents the phoenix, death, transformation, rebirth. And, like, yes, the phoenix is it's a beautiful image, rising from the ashes, being reborn and transforming. But before it can get to that place, there has to be a crashing and burning and a total disintegration of your whole fucking body, being burnt to the ground, so that you can be reborn, that you can go down to nothing, hit rock bottom, and then rebuild, be reborn. So collectively, I think that a lot of things are going to continue to come up, as they already have been throughout this year, like just things being exposed within our society, within our culture, within on the global scale, and in the United States in particular. There's been like a lot of scandals or different things being brought to the surface. But this isn't just for the States, although there are really crazy aspects that are happening for the United States chart, because each country has its own chart based on when it was founded, when it was born. So, yeah, globally and individually, the structures that aren't built in integrity, that are no longer solid, that are no longer supporting us in the way that we wish to grow, in the way that we wish to show up, it's going to be burnt down. It's going to like crumble to the ground, and then we're going to be forced to lay a new foundation for ourselves, individually and globally, like collectively laying a new foundation that is rooted in truth, rooted in integrity. And anything that's like hidden beneath the surface is going to be brought up to the light, so that it can be cleared out, it can be transmuted and turned into something else. So yeah, so I think just being patient with yourself during this time, with it being Cancer season, and Cancer being one of the probably the most emotional sign in the zodiac, because it rules your personal experiences, your personal emotions, and like responses to your external world. So it's also, Cancer rules our unconscious. So it's not just sad and crying for these people, but they have a really strong ability to tap into the collective unconscious, to their unconscious, to just kind of see what's been buried there. They have a really strong gift at like tapping into other people's energy, and just kind of knowing what other people need and what they themselves need in its highest expression, to nurture and to support and to take care of themselves. So there's a high and a low road to each sign. So we're all aiming to take the high road. That's what astrology is good for, to help make the unconscious conscious, and so that we can empower ourselves to take the high road, the highest expression of all of these signs. So yeah, just giving yourself enough rest and self-care, and really nurturing yourself throughout this Cancer season, when we're feeling a lot of things, probably feeling a little bit like nostalgic, or just thinking about the past, or our family, or maybe our ancestral roots. Maybe you're looking into that more deeply, like your family lineage, and just maybe seeing it from a more objective place, like a higher perspective on how you can, the karma that's been being cleared within your family line, and how you're showing up and doing that work. Like, if we're all a continuation of, what's come before us, and we're working through the same patterns, clearing out the same things, like, what is the bigger theme there for you within your family? How can you have healthy boundaries, for yourself, when relating with other people, whether it's relationships or with family members, or just being able to say no and to assert yourself and to know when you need to withdraw a little bit to replenish, revitalize, to take care of yourself, to tend to your internal world, so that you can come out more fully into the world in your fullest expression, which is the Capricorn, the opposite end of the polarity, the next eclipse that we're having. So okay, so there's a lot of things. I hope that this was helpful. If you would like to book a reading with me, you can do so on my site at cosmicguidance.online. And yeah, I'd love to share the astrology with you. I can do a birth chart reading. We could do a transit reading. I can also hold space for you via past/parallel life regression, which is taking you into a state of hypnosis and working more directly with your subconscious, basically getting the conscious mind out of the way and allowing your subconscious to flow through you. Maybe it's clearing out a certain pattern, or understanding why there's a certain theme or situation that keeps happening in your life, or coming to the session with a list of questions that you would like to ask your higher self. There's a few different ways that we could do it, but yeah, if you'd like more info on that, you can check out my site. And yeah, happy eclipse season. I hope that this supports you at this time. All right, take care.